nonprofit roundtable in the chamber since before 2020. So welcome back to our offices. We're excited to have you in person today. If you don't know, I'm going to let you know the bathrooms are to your right when you go out, to the left before the elevators. We do have a coffee machine out that door if you're interested in getting some coffee. But welcome to our space, and we're delighted that you're here with us. We do have a virtual platform option today. So that's why we have our little camera set up. So I'm going to ask everyone that speaks, even if you're asking a question at the end of the program, to really project your voice so that the people on the other end can hear and can participate as well. So my name is Nicole Stevenson. For those of you that I have not met, I'm the executive director of our Society of Professional Women program, which is our largest program at the Mainline Chamber. And I also get to wear this hat, which is our nonprofit roundtable program. As you know, in this climate, it's a wear many hats situation, so it doesn't all fit in our titles, but it's just something that I have the pleasure of leading. So welcome. I love this program. It's a free resource for members of our chamber. We have over 90 nonprofits of our chamber, which is pretty impressive. And our Society of Professional Women program does have a give back component to nonprofits and feature nonprofits in all of our events, which is another reason why I'm associated with this group, because a lot of people ask questions about that. So if you did not know that that's an option, please reach out to me and I'll add you to our list. I'd like to thank the Philadelphia Foundation. Leo and Diane are here. They support this program in particular for our chamber, and it would not be possible without them. So I'd like to thank them for all that they do to contribute to this program, including bringing us an actual presentation today, which is really great. You can see our next program flyer on your date, so you can save the date. We probably will be virtual since that's an early morning program and it's more digitally interactive with the content. So save the date for that. You can register now. It is up online today if you're interested in joining us for that. And then, of course, because it's my program, I can plug it. Our next SCW event is in November 17th, and that will be in person. We also have a lunch and share program on October 12th, which is in person, and that's on Women's Health. So you can find all of the details for that on scwmainline.com. Before we get started, I'd also like to hear from Dana Raker-Jackson, who's our facilitator for our leadership program here at the Chamber, because they also are very heavily involved with our nonprofit community, and I know that Dana wants to share a little bit more about that before we get started.
Thank you, Nicole. I was wondering what the timing of that was. So. All right. So, hello, everyone. And what I really would just like to share with you, because many nonprofits aren't aware of this opportunity, and I know when I ran a nonprofit, I would have liked to have known about this opportunity because as a nonprofit, you know that people resources, which is part of the topic of today, are not always abundant, or what you need when you need it. And so what the Leadership Mainline program does is, along with developing leaders and leadership development, they also work on a nonprofit project that helps to further the mission of that nonprofit. So what happens is you have an opportunity to apply. You fill out an application, and then on the first day of the Leadership Mainline program, you come in and kind of give like a Shark Tank pitch to the Leadership Mainline class, and then they have a discussion and decide which nonprofit they want to work with. Now, I can tell you that even the nonprofits that have not been selected by the Leadership Mainline class, they have picked up volunteers from the Leadership Mainline class, they've picked up sponsorships from the Mainline class, they've picked up board members from the Mainline class. So even if you don't get selected, there's a lot of other benefits to just being present and presenting and establishing that relationship and that connection. So we are live on the website. You can, if you go to the Leadership Mainline program tab under the programs on the Mainline Chamber, you'll see the application for nonprofits. So just click on that and send that to me, and then we need to receive your interest by probably December, early December. Because then the steering committee looks at all the applications and we pick the top 4 that we want to have present to the class. But even going through that process, The steering committee is made up of leadership mainline graduates from all of the previous classes, that are made up of nonprofit and for-profit leaders. So even the application process exposes you to people that otherwise your paths may never cross. So, I just wanted to encourage you to check that out and send an application along. And Bev is actually one of the recipients. She was chosen.
Yeah, it was. So they developed a strategic marketing plan for us. That was a hole on our board. We didn't have someone who really had strong personal experience in that area. And we were so thrilled. They chose us to develop this strategic marketing plan that changed the game for us. It's just, when they presented us this, like, I thought it would be like a few pages. It was a 69-page comprehensive report, overwhelming at first, because I said, "Who the heck's going to implement this?" Like, we're really full nonprofit. And they were like, "Oh no, this is like for years down the road. Like, this is where we recommend you start." And then, these are layers of things we can add on. And someone who was in that class just reached out to me, and he said, "I want to connect you." This is just a few weeks ago. And said, "I want to connect you to the graduate program of Villanova, because one of their nonprofit management graduate courses is looking to have a project for their class, and they're helping us develop a young professional advisory board, which we never would have had that connection had it not been for this group." So it's the gift that keeps giving, and it is a no-brainer to sign up and try to have this opportunity. If we had to pay for what they offered, I can't even begin to imagine how many tens of thousands of dollars it would have been.
Yeah, the class generally puts a minimum of 100 hours into the project, and some classes up to 500 hours, depending on how much time and dedication and passion they have for the project. So think about what consultant cost times hourly rate.
Thank you.
Sorry, I probably just wondered.
No, that's okay. I'm glad that that's here because, don't take the chamber's word for it. Take your other, members' word for it, because I become better from other people. So, and I did join the board of the nonprofit with our class project because I was doing the program myself, and I'm still serving on that board 4 years later, and I'm actually going to be the chair of that board next year. So I'm very excited. So before we keep talking about the chamber, let's get into the program. You're not here to talk about us, right? So Diane Melly, I would love for you to introduce yourself and your panelists here and what we're going to get into today, and I'll let you take it from here.
Great, thank you
Thank
so
you so
much,
much.
Nicole. Thank you, David. So first of all, that's a great segue to the conversation. And I do want to first acknowledge that Bernie and Nicole and Dana and the Mainline Chamber of Commerce is partnered with the Philadelphia Foundation in so many ways. So we really appreciate that partnership. And we really think it's a great investment from the foundation to support the nonprofit roundtable series throughout the year. So this is one session today, but we think for our grantees and for other nonprofits throughout the region, working with the chamber is a great way to leverage our investments and really reach more nonprofits than we would by ourselves. So we greatly value it. And I told Nicole, I saw Bernie the other day, the happiest I ever saw him in my life. I saw him on Tuesday walking down the street of Center City, and I'm like, Bernie, he's so happy. He's like, I'm going on vacation. I'm like, wow, it shows. People out and about in person. Yes. So, and I'm joined by my colleague, Leo Otting, who is the program director for all of our volunteerism programs at the Philadelphia Foundation. And so you'll hear from him a little bit later. I joined the Philadelphia Foundation almost 4 years ago now, after 36 years at IBM, and led our global citizenship initiatives worldwide. Part of that was skills-based volunteering. So volunteering is near and dear to my heart, in particular, connecting the talents and skills, just like you're saying, Dana, of talented people in the community and in the corporate sector to not-for-profits. And what we're going to talk about today is just that, what we're investing in at the Philadelphia Foundation now, the platform and the resources to be able to connect volunteers at scale. So what you're saying is incredibly phenomenal, and more boats we can ride, the better. We'll specifically talk today about what we're doing at the Philadelphia Foundation, but it's another version fueled by technology, as you imagine, background, that we can get to as many not-for-profits as possible. So I'll start today with a brief background on what is the Key Skills Hub and what is it that first, I'm so excited. We did prep calls with the three ladies here in front of me, and I'm like, this is perfect. We have to my left, Kimberly Palladino, and I call her the super volunteer. So she is with GSK, and she is the STEM Equity Collective Backbone Director. Quite a title. So I'll ask folks to introduce themselves in a minute. But this is my super volunteer, and then to my right, I have Claudia Baker. I call her my serial user, a not-for-profit director who has used the Key Skills Hub a number of times successfully. And Claudia is with the Court Appointed Special Advocate in Philadelphia, Canada, and she is the advocate for recruitment coordinator and uses volunteers every day to deliver the work that she does in the community. And Atia Harmon is the executive director of the Black Girls Love Math. And she has really leveraged the Key Skills Hub as she has launched her not-for-profit in the last 2 years as a way to really supplement as she grows out the structure of her organization. Really, I think brilliantly has leveraged skills-based volunteers to supplement her part-time staff that she has as she moves forward and expands her operation. So 3 amazing people here with me. We'll have a conversation and then we'll close with Leah. So, Atia, since you're on this side, so let me start with you introducing yourself.
Sure, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Atia Harmon. I'm founder and executive director of Black Girls Love Math. Our mission is to eliminate racial and gender inequalities, specifically in K-12 mathematics. We do that by providing some after-school programming and Saturday programming with charter schools and community organizations. We're starting in Philadelphia. Our plan is to scale. We work with grades K-12. This is our first year of high school. We were founded June 20th, 2020, on my mom's birthday. And it was during COVID, but it was like, this is the thing that I need to do. I had 20 years in education, teacher, principal, all the things you could be advancing, but this was near and dear to my heart to help this target population.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Claudia Baker, and I'm the advocate recruiter for Court Appointed Special Advocates of Philadelphia. We recruit, train, and supervise volunteers who act as advocates for children in foster care in Philadelphia. And we are a small staff of 9. We've been in Philadelphia for about 15 years. CASA is all over the country, but as with most nonprofits, we're small staff supervising more than 100 volunteers, serving more than 350 kids a year. And we have used the hub a lot. I came on staff about 3 years ago, and we've used them for all kinds of things, or I have really, in terms of getting our marketing. Again, COVID, I took this position thinking I would be doing things like this and speaking to groups, and then COVID came and everything went virtual, and I really couldn't have made that transition without the support of the Kitchen Fire platform.
Thank you.
Kim, like Diane, I'm a connector. I have a lot of jack of all trades pieces to me, but yeah, I work for GSK, and much like IBM, as part of our corporate citizenship program, I spent 2 years working as a backbone director for the Philadelphia STEM Equity Collective, and I'm a volunteer in the Key Skills Hub. And I started doing volunteering in the Key Skills Hub. I learned it through the collective, but it was also at that time, the opposite in COVID, where I was physically volunteering a lot, and I was missing something in my life. So this new level where I could give my skills, I still physically volunteer, less often than I did before. I love giving my being at GSK for 22 years. I've worked in the organization in multiple divisions of strategy. I've been trained in coaching. I've been trained in Six Sigma. So I've worked in operations. I have all these skills that now working in the collective, I know how valuable they are, and it's good for me. I feel how valuable they are, but I also love, it inspires me to keep volunteering in the Key Skills Hub to keep helping people like yourself make those matches. You know, if you're missing that person on your board, you don't have a staff. Like Tia, I mean, whatever you need, I'm here to. And other people, imagine thousands of other people like me behind the virtual wall of the Key Skills Hub, waiting to help you.
So thank you, ladies. So first of all, you can hear there's some really, really great people here. I can't wait to get to the conversation, but I have to do a little background information. And so first of all, you know, as I look out at you, and thank you to the folks that are on the line as well, this is really, it's free. You don't how they say there's no free lunch? That is like, and so coming from IBM and years of carrying quota and other things, it really is amazing that the Philadelphia Foundation is investing in this platform that is able to connect volunteers with not-for-profits. So as you're listening to the ladies today, giving their insights, and as I share with you today, think about, how can your not-for-profit benefit from this investment, from making these connections? Dana just did a phenomenal job. We want to do what Dana is doing at a scale across the region and get to the folks that she's able to invest in her leadership class and take that to get to thousands of volunteers across the region. So I'm going to do a couple of slides. Oh, thank you. It was always ahead of me. Always making me. So one of the interesting things that the Philadelphia Foundation did, first of all, the Philadelphia Foundation is 100 years old in 2019. So that's pretty amazing. And it's been so deeply integrated into the community for that 100 years. And it's always looking for ways to be innovative and really help the quality of life of all people living in the region. So one of the things that we looked at when I joined and as we were approaching the centennial of the foundation, we're saying, let's really triple down on our investment in volunteerism and in skills-based services. In my blood, did it at IBM and does it at GSK. Corporations over the last 20 years have really invested heavily in enabling their employees to either through matching grants or dollars for doer program and through paid time off to really engage in the community. So we thought it was a really pinnacle point in the life of the Philadelphia Foundation to say, let's really let our not-for-profits have access to as much talent throughout this region as we could. So we invested, made the investment in this world-class platform, and it's open, as I said, it really is free for all residents, and whether you're working at a corporation or a small business or retiree, it really is a marketplace that volunteers can come to, and they're looking at what the not-for-profit needs are and where they can be matched. One of the things that we're very proud of, we said, all right, well, let's try to do big corporate comes into a community foundation. And I'm like, let's do $1 million in skills-based volunteering during our centennial year at the Philadelphia Foundation. We were overwhelmed by the response of the corporate volunteers and by the not-for-profits. We did 2.3 million market value in volunteerism in 2019. So it was really, we said, oh my goodness, there's a tremendous appetite for this. So you can go on. I'm not even going to look over there. I think as Claudia said, the Key Skills Hub, the underlying technology is something called Catch-a-Fire. It's very powerful, algorithmically driven, so that volunteers post a profile of themselves, both in terms of their skill set and their personal passion of interest. I've been involved in volunteerism for 20 years. I sit on the board of the Friends of Light, on the International Association of Volunteer Effort. So I'm very passionate about this, and I have not seen a better platform in terms of being able to dynamically take the profile of a volunteer without human interaction and take the needs of a not-for-profit and make recommendations of here are volunteers. So if you posted a opportunity that you're looking for, it will give you multiple choices of 2 or 3 or 4 volunteers for the not-for-profit to choose, because we all know, and again, Dana, I didn't know she was going to say all that. So it was really good, because really when you think about the ultimate goal, when you have a cloud-based platform like this, you are able to get volunteers from all over the country. But one of the things that we really are focusing on at the Philadelphia Foundation is to really try to get more local volunteers onto the platform. It's our perfect model, so that they can join the board, so that they can do what Nicole was doing and stay involved and not just be on the board and then chair the board. Like, just think of the power of, the masses doing this. So very powerful technology, easy to use. We're going to hear comments from Claudia on that in particular. I'm like, oh, yes, that's great. Because we have all these young digital natives, but Claudia was
Not
like,
young, not digital.
If Claudia can do it.
Yeah,
And really, I think what you heard from these three panels already is this is supplementing your staff. So there's just, and we're all coming back from COVID. No one has enough resources to do everything that you're prioritizing in your not-for-profit. So this gives you another opportunity to look at how do I bring in additional resource? How do I get things done, both that are very strategic to my organization and then maybe very tactical. So the range of things that you can request to be done is very vast. I'll show that in a moment. There we go. Thank you. On the Key Skills Hub, again, what we were, we had this great 2019. We're coming into 2020 and we're like, oh my goodness, COVID. But little did we know that with COVID, every corporate partner of ours, and we have over 50 corporate partners in our corporate volunteer council, shut down their in-person volunteers. Some of those companies had already been virtual, had done virtual volunteering, but most companies, even the very large ones, have not made that investment in their volunteer programs to do virtual. So having the Key Skills Hub, some things you're just lucky. We had the Key Skills Hub, COVID hit, all those companies shut down their volunteerism, in-person volunteerism, and many of them, their people wanted to be engaged, they were home, and so we saw a real spike during COVID. So we saw in the biggest COVID window from March 2020 to September 2022, we saw 25,000 hours of volunteerism into our nonprofits throughout the region. That's over $5 million of support going into the community, over 300 projects active, and over 1,400 matches. So really, really significant volume happened during COVID. And then this just was, I put this in because I don't want to get into, I want to get to the conversation here. I put this in so you could kind of see the span of what those 1,400 matches were that we did during that COVID period. And that can range from scoping conversations, I think that's very important, that you may not know exactly what you want to do or what you need. So you can schedule on the platform to just do a call. I'm thinking about doing a strategic plan. My strategic plan is 3 years old. Let me talk to someone about whether I should do it now or hold off another year or whatever. Or we haven't really invested in social media at my not-for-profit yet. I want to just scope it out and think about it. So you can go from a very easy entry by just doing a scoping call and request that on the site, or you can go, as you look at these projects that we have here, from strategic planning, website design, marketing strategy, social media strategy, down to very tangible deliverables. I have an event coming up and I need to have graphic design support to do the invitations and the materials and that kind of thing. So it's really a very much asset-driven platform where you can request from this variety of projects. And when you don't know what you want to do, you set up a call and you say, help me, think it through and prioritize. So now we get to the good part. We get to the part where we get to speak to the experts here on the panel. And so why don't I start with you, Kim, because you're very experienced. As I said, this is a marketplace. So we have volunteers and we have not-for-profits. So let's talk about, and I did, but she really is, she is the perfect example of a volunteer who just has tremendous skills and is serial volunteer, which is who's the not-for-profit. So what do you like about it? How did you get involved? And how do you think your skills are being leveraged to really help in this company?
I definitely like, at the end of the day, it's a nonprofit in the driver's seat. So whether you go and find someone or whether people like me apply to you, it's your choice. It's your choice to start, it's your choice to cancel, it's your choice to stretch it out, it's your choice to keep it short. So you're driving it. So I really do feel like I'm helping. Adding value is another, not saying helping, but adding value to the people that are running this. And I do really like the 1 hour calls. And I'll even say for any of you out there, today. I'm easily found on LinkedIn. It's Kimberly Palladino, like no numbers or anything like that. But like schedule a 1-hour call with me just to learn how to use the platform, and I'll help you find the right thing on there. So and it's not that big of a deal. If you pick the wrong thing, you and your volunteer are going to work it out. It's just a guide. It's just some words that hopefully use that algorithm right. Maybe it's close enough and you can figure it out.
Do you realize that there's 100 people?
Yeah. I'm very happy, as you said, I'm a serial volunteer. I think I can spend 30 to 40 minutes with any one person and help them like add so much value. Like one of my favorite projects, if they hired me for project management and they wanted to talk about the approach, they want to talk about software. We met for 45 minutes and she's like, you're right. Or at the end of the day, she discovered herself. This is not a priority for my organization right now. We don't need software. We just need to figure out what we're going to do in the next 3 years, and then maybe we need project management software. Why am I wasting my time? So I think there's a lot of, like, I worked at GSK 22 years. Maybe we have more money, but we're still we're very vigilant about where we spend every single dime. So everything is scrutinized, rationalized to the nth degree. So we are prioritizing things all the time too. So that's a couple of things. Like I said, I found it that I love using my brain in addition to my body when I volunteer. So the fact that I could do both now is
Back to the moment, Claudia. Again, I was so impressed talking to Claudia because how she's leveraging the platform and that she's multiple times with different initiatives. So talk to us about how you got started, how easy was it to use, and why you keep coming back.
It is very easy. Again, I'm not a technology person. I came to work, I started as a volunteer with Wisconsin about 5 years ago, and Costa received a grant from our national organization to do recruitment, volunteer recruitment. Looking to go from, we generally have about 100 active volunteers. Our goal was to get to 150 active volunteers. And so they got this grant. It was a part-time position, and I was interested in getting back into the workforce, and I took the position. And then got there, I realized they had nothing. Nobody, I mean, there was a Twitter, but nobody knew what the password was or how to get into it. There were more than one Instagram account, but nobody was sure why or how to get into it. I mean, none of it. And I knew nothing. Social media was not my thing. As I said, I sort of saw myself as going out to professional groups, alumni associations, whatever, go and speaking to people, which I did a little bit, except that 6 months or not even 6 months in, COVID hit. But sort of the first thing, driven largely by my college age and young 20s children, was that you have to get social media. But didn't have any idea. Nobody on our staff. We're a staff of 10. I'm the only non-social worker on staff, and this is not what they do. But my boss said to me, we have this skills hub that we have access to through our grant from the Philadelphia Foundation. Here, she sort of gave it to me, and I went on their site, and it is incredibly easy to do. And you just put up a post, and you create your profile, and I just put in for a call to just, where do I even begin? I don't know where to even start with any of this. And I had an hour-long phone conversation, basically sort of the same sort of thing, saying, well, you don't really need a 3-year plan. You just have to figure out how to get into your account. Which I said, I don't even know what to do. And she said, well, you add me. So I this lovely woman in, I forget where she was from. I had nobody local, but she, I don't know how, but I gave her everything I had, and she got in the back door of all of our platforms that existed. She set up a Facebook platform for us because we didn't have a page. She set it all up for me, and then said, here are the logins. Here's how you get into it. And then I sort of was, well, now I don't really know what to do with it. And I went back in and did a campaign, put one in, and I had somebody who did probably a 20-page layout for me of, here's the kinds of things. This is how often you need to post. This is the best times for you to post. These are the kinds of things. Give me a calendar, do something funny once a month, something informative once a month. Just very basic stuff. That was just, so I was talking at that point. So now every time they have anything that they want, I'm like, what about page hire? So we are now connected with Google for nonprofits, which is $10,000 a month in free advertising. That is, I was telling Diane, I don't know who AJ is. I've never met AJ, but AJ set it up for us. He worked with one of our board members to be able to give them the financial information they needed, and he maintains it
tourism or what have you, which we were not going to be in any position to do. And I said to him, like, how do I now manage this? He said, I'll just do it. So I pictured him in a room with 9 screens, and he does this for like 40 organizations, and he does it professionally. He's a programmer, but he runs it, and for him, it's, you know, it probably takes 20 minutes a month to keep Ryan going where it's supposed to go. I called him, I sent him an email the other day. I'm like, I got this email. It says my something or other is expiring. He said, I already got it. Like, he just does it. It's amazing. It's you know, and again, it's $10,000 a month.
I'm surprised you include AJ in.
I would love to. I can't even, he won't, he doesn't Zoom. He doesn't get on, like, I would love to get on his Zoom with him, but I get short responses. Because like I said, he's
Pay a lot of money for the AJ.
yeah, and he, I forget, you know, you see your profile, so if you go in and you really do get 4, 5, 6 people that will answer when you post something. And I forget, he literally had like 40 projects that he had done. I'm currently working for them. I kind of went back in, you'll see I list a bunch of brochures. These were done by somebody that had been paid. Our national organization gives us space, but you have to know how to use, you know, Adobe to even put your own things in here. But we paid somebody to do these, was not cheap, part of the grant that we had. Problem is I now can't really do anything with them. So I had another person from the Skills Hub who's currently taking these. She goes, oh, I'll just put them all on Canva. So she's taking all of this and she's putting it onto Canva. And she's also creating some templates for me that are brand specific, so that, you know, now that we've been doing this for a few years, I'm trying to get fancier with our social media. I try to keep everything very brand specific. So she's creating a bunch of things for me. She actually had been a CASA volunteer in Virginia years ago, and was very drawn to us, and is also a tech person. You know, she's helping me figure out we use too many different programs and which program we should be using, and that kind of thing. They just become committed supporters of the program. Great.
Wonderful. Now, Tia, you have started your own non-profit, Black Girls Love Math. Yeah. Talk to us. I just am really impressed with the way that you have never able to leverage the platform to get your not-for-profit launched and to start to grow it in that structure. So share with us all the different ways that you've used it in the last 2 years.
Sure. So once I had the idea and I incorporated, everyone gave me ideas, my board, and I was like, okay, I'm completely overwhelmed. Where do I start? December 1st, 2020, I think was given Tuesday. And it was the first day I was on Clubhouse. I was on like this nonprofit thing, and they said, look up capacity building grant. Searched it that night, Philadelphia Foundation came up, signed up for Catch Fire. First thing I did was an organizational. I don't know what I don't know. And she, I matched with this woman. She's actually local. She's in the greater Philadelphia area. And she was in school, and she said, you were a principal, right? She said, treat it like a school. And from there, I was able to strategically move throughout. So I said, okay, we need a budget. So I worked with an accountant to get a budget, and then we got an executive summary that actually helped with our grant that we got from the Philadelphia Foundation. And I talked to that volunteer yesterday. She was just like really good. I was like, you helped us get our first grant. And we needed a brochure, which is over there from a volunteer. She's from local as well. And we just me primarily, start figuring out like what's the best next step. So like we don't have operating budget, but we have these great people who might help. So what do we need now? We need accounting, we need QuickBooks, like what do we need? Is always the question I ask myself, and like did research and talk to my board, and I would just put it on Catch a Fire, like I said, and it was okay, thank you. Like, are you really doing this for free? And I'm like, wow, thank you. And it just kept like firing out. One of our volunteers now is kind of like an ongoing project. She did research, and Kimberly, you'll be excited to know she did the local demographic research in Philadelphia and New York, which is our next market, on the number of Black and Latinx women, and still like she has all the background, all the like anything I need to pitch. She did all this research. So everyone who's calling something similar to us, Claire is amazing. So it's like she gave me all the lunch. So now I can use it and pitch that. So I got a pitch deck done, like all the things. So It's literally been a game changer and a godsend. I always say that.
Hopefully you're all getting your questions together. I'm gonna ask one more just because I forgot to ask. One of the things that I found really impressive with my first conversation with you, the rigor with which you manage your volunteers. So can you talk about that, how you treat the project? Much like to me, you would have regular consulting teacher. If you had it at GSK.
I mean, I do apply how I work at GSK to this. So thinking of budget, you budget your time. That's the most valuable resource, right? So I've budgeted volunteer hours on Mondays and Sundays, and not that I can only meet people on Mondays and Sundays, but I know I have about 4 to 6 hours a week to give. And if I'm not giving that, then there's more that I could be giving. So that's when I know when to apply to more projects versus hold more. I'm full. I mean, I got enough projects. I'm no AJ. There's no way I'm doing 40 at one time. 1 or 2. Otherwise, I start losing my mind. But
They have 10 people in it.
I think AJ's a bot, but we'll see. More power to you, AJ. He programmed himself into a bot or 20 bots. I don't know. But I have a teenager too. So like, I mean, I got a family and I got things going on at home like everybody else does as well. So yeah, that's kind of how I schedule it. I know that I'm always available to reach out and find more. And like I said, I really like that, keep calling it outline that Catchfire gives you for your call or your project. That's how I draft it up, and usually in Google, because everyone has access to Google, and I share it with my volunteer manager, whoever that is. It could be yourself, like it is for here. You could have someone else in your staff be the volunteer manager, or someone you trust, whatever. But I always share that, and I plan it out the next couple sessions, what we're planning to do. We keep track of what we actually do, what we've talked about, what decisions we've made, how many hours I've spent, so that we can now feed back into the system, so that the key skills up can, so like how we figure out those values and Catchfire uses those values and those hours and those dollars to figure out how much service is given to an opportunity. So yeah, I mean, project management is obviously one of the skills that I have. So yeah, I treat it like a project.
That's great. And I think because it is a digital platform, you are able to really analyze all of the data in terms of creating like which assets are being requested the most, which skills are being matched. And I was impressed, Leo, the other day we were meeting with the not-for-profit director, and he said to him, and the average we're seeing right now is 3 days to make the match. So that's pretty impressive.
12 hours. Like I post things, this last one that I posted, I literally had 3 people reply to me in less than 24 hours. And the woman doing it, she said, it's probably be 2 weeks before I get back to you. 2 weeks, but they take like all of that, it could take me 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So the rigor and the data-driven, it's just really, to me, a great example of technology scaling, but easy to use, yet has a lot of powerful capabilities. The platform itself continues to enrich project type. As we all know, there's been a major emphasis from the corporate world and from the community on DE&I. And so there was a whole series of assets added last year, and volunteers continuing to get training in order to deliver those, because I think often, I sit on the board of independent sector, we were just going through this last week when I was in Washington, about our own self-assessment as a Washington-based national not-for-profit about what is our own assessment of our DEI. And so there's, as you go through and think about what you're doing, there's what you have as your needs, your everyday things, and brochures, and strategic plans and budgets, but then there's also things that like, wow, we haven't done the DEI assessment for my not-for-profit. Go to the Key Skills Hub and make the request, because you can do kind of a quick assessment and drill down and do strategies around that. So continue, as I said, to back to me, I'm not shy. Like there is a new president at CEO at Catchfire, and like first I spoke with him within weeks of him coming on board and said, like, this is what we need. So we're constantly a good customer of Catchfire, so the platform really is relevant to what the needs of the not-for-profit we have. So before I start asking more questions, what's on your mind? Anything that folks have presented that you want to drill down on? Any questions? Yeah. And can you introduce yourself when you ask your question, please?
Hi, I'm Dr. Jermaine Edwards of Black Women's Sport Foundation out of Philadelphia. And my question is kind of relevant to tech. I have two of them, 2001. What is the length of time, or how many years can you access this, or is there a limit to how many hours per month per organization, or is it just whenever you need to use it?
Right, that's great. So the Key Skills Hub, we pay for it annually with a Cancer Fire, so we just signed up for another 2-year contract. So we have no intention of stopping that in the future, in any time in the near future. And like I said, part of our second century is saying that this is a way to, while we invest grant dollars in our not-for-profits, we also want to invest in bringing as much talent into that organization. So you can do it as many times as you want, as many requests. I haven't seen anybody break it.
Why do you break it?
But I think it is because, again, I think this is, we need to be very serious about it, depending on the nature of the project. Like you made a comment about, aging might have 40, but if you're doing social media and you're monitoring different accounts of explorations of their different IDs and that kind of thing, you can carry 40 years time. Let's be real. But if you're doing some, tech strategy or a software package assessment, you're not going to do 40 years time. So it to me, be realistic that it does take an investment. I say free in terms of using the platform and that, but the not-for-profit leader, and I've heard different folks here say they're bored. Like when you're taking on these projects, again, if it's a brochure, you're not being bored. But if you're going to do a strategic assessment or social media strategy, you're going to want to take it very seriously within your organization because you are investing your time and you want to give the volunteer. And that's why I put into Kim, these volunteers are taking this seriously. They're using rigor, they're using project management methodologies. They're going to deliver the deliverables, the work product that they're committing to. So the not-for-profit has to be committed to, deliver your insight, your direction, and get your team and your board involved, appropriately depending on the nature of the project. So get on there.
That brought me to my other question. I hear that organizations at different levels have been accessing it, so there is no baseline where your organization needs to have X, Y, and Z in order to use the service or to get use out of the service.
What we've done is any of the partners, any of our grantees at the Philadelphia Foundation, we're extending access to all of the not-for-profits that are our grantees and the Mainline Chamber members, because we are a member of the Mainline Chamber and partnered with the Chamber on the nonprofit roundtable and other initiatives and others. Any of the members of the Mainline Chamber that are not-for-profits have access to granting access as well.
Hi, everybody. Melinda Johnson, Executive Director of Compass Philadelphia. Loving this conversation. When I first joined Compass about 1.5 years ago, I said, we are revolutionizing skills-based volunteerism. I am well connected with the Philadelphia Foundation. I love what you talk about, Dana. I was thinking about the pitch already. But my question is, can you talk a little bit about how you were able to really engage so many corporations to, be part of this effort? Because, it is growing, but I've just seen, and the digital platform, I know the name of the game, when I first came to Compass, we were talking a lot about how do we scale, and we do, it's different because it's more face-to-face, but thank God, as you said, it's a skill that can be performed digitally, or a service that can be performed. But how did you go about building the network of volunteers? I'm just super curious.
Well, so I think that's a multi-part question. First of all, we have a network. So I think, let me say first that you can't really scale this without a digital platform and score. And when we're talking about volunteering, you're connecting digitally, but people do go in person. And like we said, our ultimate goal for the Philadelphia Foundation is that people engage, they connect, and then they get passionately in love with the mission of that not-for-profit, and they're in person, and they're doing, like I said, Nicole's doing the board, and ultimately cheering. So I think they're, the digital and in person, we all know that ultimately we get people to really have sustained connection. And so we have something called the Corporate Volunteer Council that we have. There's corporate volunteer councils that exist around the country. I was very familiar with that from my role at IBM. And so we bought the Corporate Volunteer Council in when I came in to the Philadelphia Foundation. And we have 50 companies that are part of that council and really help the corporations grow their corporate social responsibility and the volunteerism. So it's just a natural connection. And we have the expertise in myself and Leo and some other folks that much what we're doing today with not-for-profits we do with our corporate partners as well. And so that's all based on the 650 framework and Bernie and then the chamber and 6 other chambers or so. So we're really conscious of the need of a marketplace and for our marketplace to be balanced. So you see Leo and I were behind the scenes looking and saying like, oh, well, I don't want that match rate to go high. So you've got to make sure that you have a market that's going to deliver volunteers to not-for-profit needs. And so right now, the fact that one of the beauties of being fueled by the Catch a Fire platform is that if volunteers are not here, and your first can be matched with those, it does expand out the algorithms to anywhere in the country. So that's very powerful. Like I said, I'm involved in corporate volunteering. A lot of companies get challenged with either not having enough opportunities on their own internal platforms, or or whatever. So that's keeping that balance. And I think being place-based across our region is really, really important. It kind of makes it a lot easier because it kind of we got to get these not-for-profits to know how great this is, and exactly I get the company. And so I think that's why we're here today, is saying like this is great stuff.
I love what Tia said, that it really led her, like the volunteer who supported her, led her to getting that grant. So you don't actually have to be a grantee of the Philadelphia Foundation to access the Skill Hub. Is that?
But we have partners too. So like you said, like, no, you don't have to be, we have different partnerships. My chamber is a perfect example. So maybe the time is getting tight here. What I'd like to do is have each of you kind of share some closing thoughts in terms of what you would recommend to folks. It can be anything. It can be how to get started, what to do, what not to do, because I'd like to hear from the 3 of you, and then we're going to close with Leo talking about next steps. So we'll start with you.
Sure. I think the first thing is sign up, right? And then think about your 3, 6, 9 month goals. Like you don't have to do a whole strategic plan, but like what do you need right away to move you forward? And then there's project bundles on there, or you can just do an organizational call to get you started to help you move in that right direction.
Yeah, I would say the same. Starting with the call, I think when we have had access to this prior to my coming on board, and I believe our executive director had at one point reached out and had done something, hadn't really anticipated the staff side need. They were looking at, I believe, at updating a website. So obviously, a volunteer can only do so much. You have to give them the information to put on the website. So for me, when I go to post a project, I try to think about, what I need, but how much time I can apply towards getting to whatever, for this stuff, I just couldn't do it. And I was able to present this in a way that I said, I'm really sending you files and you're on your own. Because I didn't have that for stuff like the Google for Nonprofits. That took us, several weeks of backing and forthing. There was time that I had to present. There was time a board member had to put in terms of figuring out, connecting to some of the financial stuff. You do have to sort of do your homework, I guess I would say, to make sure that you're putting in what needs to be done as much as the volunteer does.
Great, thank you. I love what Atia said earlier. give yourself that gift to ask yourself that question, what's the next thing? And just like Claudia said, if it's a website, do I need content first? Maybe I need a website design first. What do I want? Like, maybe you need 22 volunteers before you get to your website. So like, and maybe you need a volunteer to help you figure that out. I don't know, but start somewhere, build your successful wins. And on the other side, think about it too, is strategically for your organization, do you want to, like, in corporate America, we say buy, borrow, or build your talent. So you can borrow your talent from the Key Skills Hub, but also one of the project management projects I worked on, we agreed I would do the first one as an example, and the rest of the team used the tool, not even connected to them, to like Project Management Institute for further references, tools, and training, and they use it as exercises to use their staff then did it for the other projects at the organization. So they built their own, they used me to get started, but then they were able to self-sustain themselves and pay it forward even to their students that go through their services that they have there. So it was like a triple pay it forward kind of scenario. I get goosebumps talking about it. So it's like looking for those awesome synergies is what I say too, and think about how it can help you not only take a project today, but build skills for the future as well.
I think GSK is a great example of corporations are really investing in volunteerism for their people. So could you comment, I think GSK is just one of the global leaders, and so if you could just comment on how they're enabling you to put it in your efforts.
Absolutely, yeah. I think much like in your old position, like to have someone in that role at your company that's looking after this and figuring it out. We've always been very philanthropic, whether it's our vaccines and making sure that we get them to countries that need them at no or low cost, and figuring out those models. But when it comes to employee volunteerism, we already get a day and a half off now, and not approved yet, but I'll just say there's a policy going for circulation now to increase that significantly. So giving more time and counting it as part of your work day, that you are part of the community, that working in the communities that we work in, that we serve, is a necessary part of the job. It's not something extra or additional. So giving us that time to do it, and giving us the empowerment. We have our own little employee groups that we go and do together. We do a department. So you could find an employee group where it's race and ethnicity centered, or gender centered, or sexual identity centered, or disability or ability centered. Like there's a lot of different employee groups that could probably possibly match with the mission of your organization as well. We really, once you find a volunteer like me, we know who our friends are. We're friends with volunteers. We can spread, if you're asking the question, we can spread the word. And Catch a Fire being a digital platform gives me something really cool. Like they annually publish this little JPEG I've got to add to my social media. It just says, Kim saved $12,000 in nonprofits this year. So, and if I pass that on, then of course my friends want to make 13 or 15, right? They want to beat me in their volunteerism. So it's another way to spread. It's not as nice as the big corporation jumping in like GSK, but at least it does spread the word. And if we get more local, like I said, I live right here in Wayne. I love supporting all of Philadelphia and Philadelphia region, but I'd love to do more face-to-face stuff now and get to know more. I was just saying I want to be on boards. I'm not on any boards right now, so I'm looking to get into that.
But exactly, what you were saying, that I think corporations are very aware that Gen Y and we are demanding that they provide these opportunities. So, if you just look, Deloitte did a fabulous study on it last year. You have to provide that opportunity. This is not something that's hard for corporations. Corporations are looking for ways to do it. We just did something for corporate council last week with different companies where the Bentley Systems, for instance, like they really let their employees totally pick and match dollars, and so companies are getting really, really innovative. I'm very excited about that. And that's our 50% line, where we're trying, like I said, on the corporate side, they're there. So you just ask for what you want, and corporations are going to jump. And that's not just the GSK, which has been global leaders in this for decades. That's down to the small and medium sized businesses. So it's a really exciting opportunity for all of us. I am so sorry that we're like almost out of time. I want to turn it over to Leo real quickly to just say, okay, what's next? You heard from these amazing people. If you're interested in accessing the Key Skills Hub, Leo is our, as I said, our program director of all things volunteerism at the Philadelphia Foundation, so he will share with you, how you can get connected into this work.
Spoiler, it's that QR code right there. Feel odd standing behind people at this lecture, but if you scan that QR code, take a picture. I'm also going to work with Michelle to make sure the deck is everybody afterwards. Echoing what everybody said on the panel, you can sign up today. I encourage everybody to either go in there, sign up today, or at least explore it, and that QR code or the email address down below will get you in there. I do want to highlight a few things and then tell you about the next step. You can find local volunteers. Kim, for example, has stated that she looks for local organizations. The algorithm allows that to really allow for that that passion alignment with the passion of the volunteer and the mission of the nonprofit. So that's how you get volunteers that continue to work even past the limit of the project. And then also, Kim highlighted this, as Tia did as well, that you or whoever from your staff is on this can learn, not only just get a project deliverable, but learn from your volunteer that you benefit and your staff benefit over time. So you're building your own capacity to be a better nonprofit professional, or your staff within your org and future other orgs that they're working on. And then I do want to highlight, it wasn't mentioned here, when you make your account, other people from your org can be working with it too. To max out the amount of projects that you can be posting, you can associate other people with that account, and they can be posting projects as well as you. It doesn't actually have to be a staff member, board member, super volunteer. Whoever is really within your nonprofit organization network can be helping you work with your virtual volunteer. So, I'm a little spiel. Definitely scan the QR code, get connected today. There's additionally demos where I'll actually go into the nuts and bolts and give you best practices and stuff. There's the ones coming up in October, November, and December. We try to flip it morning to afternoon. If one of these don't work, I highly encourage you to come to me to see kind of the thumbnail overview. If one of these don't work, there's an email, keithbuiltup@philipfound.org. Do that. I'll find the email and I can set up a one-on-one demo with you and your team. Ideally, after you go to one of these, but if these don't work, we can set it up, no problem. And then there's other demonstrations and other events like these that you can share with your network. If you feel it's something that a nonprofit has heard about, we want to get connected. All of our events are still found the events page. With that, we'll give it back to you, Diane.
Great, thank you so much, Leo. And I want to really ask you to give a big round of applause to our panelists here. Phenomenal work. Thank you for sharing your insights. And Nicole, thanks for inviting us.
Thank you so much. Are we all set? All right, well, feel free to help yourself with some snacks on the way out.